For those of you joining us online, we are so glad you are with us. If you are visiting with us today, we invite you to sign our visitor's book, and if you would like to join us for the coffee hour downstairs, if you would like, feel free to take a green mug so that we can be sure to greet you. Also, members and friends, to help folks connect, remember to wear your name tag with your pronoun stickers. If you need a new name tag, you can request that in the living room. I am Megan Griffin. My pronouns are she and her. I am pleased to be with you as your worship associate this morning. Our music today will be provided by Carol and May. During the summer months, our services will be intergenerational. There will be a gathering space and activities in the living room for children of all ages. All voices are welcome here. There's always a lot going around the church. You can read all about it in your news and notes, which arrives in your inbox every Friday, and there are printed copies available downstairs. If you would like to receive news and notes, stop by the welcome table in the living room at the back of the church. Too loud now? All right. I'll back up then. I used to teach junior high. Next week, we'll be attending the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, the annual meeting of our association. We will be sharing the Sunday morning worship together via live stream. And this congregation supports Beds Plus, an organization that provides meals for the unhoused. Next week, June 23rd, we will be assembling microwaved, shelf-stable meals and other items. Note that we usually do this on the last Sunday of the month, but you still have time to donate.
Thank you so much, Megan. I want to add my welcome to that of Megan's. It's good to see you this morning on this beautiful, not quite yet 90-degree day, which it won't be 90 degrees until like 4 o'clock. So we're going to try and have our picnic outside. If it's a little warm, there'll be indoor space where you can have your picnic lunch. But this is the in Unitarian Universalism, our year got multiple layers of year. Our fiscal year begins July 1. We think of our church year as beginning the Sunday after ingathering, or Sunday after Labor Day, which we call our ingathering service. And so we shift into our summer service mode after we have our General Assembly watch party next week, and then those services are outdoors, weather permitting. Otherwise, everything moves inside. So it's just our theme for the summer is stories. So you're going to be in for a treat with lots of stories. This is actually going to be my last Sunday with you until August. I know, doesn't that seem like a far time away? But I'm sure it will fly for some of us. So I'm excited about the summer services and all of the offerings that the worship team are sharing with us. Jean is going to help me out here, because you know what? Sometimes you just got to roll, right? You just never know how things are going to go. You got that? No worries. Yeah, perfect. Let's try that. Oh, perfect. Let's do our land acknowledgement. All right. Take a breath with me. We acknowledge that we in the western suburbs inhabit areas that are the traditional territories of the indigenous people, including the Kickapoo, Peoria, Potawatomi, and others. As people trying to live into a more just world, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the history and legacy of colonialism, the harm done to Native peoples, and to also work to repair that harm. We've got a couple of opening songs for us today as we gather for our annual flower communion. And I just want to initially say Happy Father's Day to those who have been fathered, and have the role of father. I'll have more for you in a little bit. And I'm going to invite you to rise and body your spirit for enter, rejoice, and come in. Come sing a song with me written by Unitarian musician So remain standing and let's sing together.
Number 346 if you need the hymnal.
Invite us into worship this morning with words by Thomas Rhodes. All of us are beautiful, like flowers. We come in a variety of colors and shapes and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward. Some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear, y'all. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us grow low to the ground. Some of us stretch toward the sun. Some of us feel like weeds, which are only flowers that people don't like. Sometimes, some of us carry seeds, sometimes. Some of us are prickly, sometimes. Some of us smell, and all of us are beautiful. What a beautiful bouquet of people we are. Do me a favor, a little awkward moment. You don't have to look in people's eyes, but just take a look around. You're looking at the beautiful flowers. Take a look around at the people that you're sharing this journey with. What a bouquet of people we are. It is good to be together.
As we celebrate life's beauty, may we never forget that we are a part of it. It is woven not only around us, but through us. We are here to notice these elegant strands, the way they call to us, hold us, and connect us. May today enable that beauty to shine. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. Please join in our offertory words. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with the people around us, and with all the world. We thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Carolyn. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm going to invite you to just take a breath with me as we shift from the outward expression of gathering to an inward and more inner gathering into ourselves, to connect with who we are and what it is that we brought with us today, connecting to the various parts of ourselves and the various parts of our lives. In a moment, we will share our joys and sorrows one another. The ritual that we do
that brings us together as community and gives us the opportunity to be seen and heard and known, even if it is only in silence, and it is always with just a few words. In a moment after we do our meditation on breathing, we're going to go ahead and we have pebbles. Each one is unique, signifying the uniqueness of each of you, just like these unique flowers. Even roses look different. There's not one flower that looks just alike, just like none of us look exactly or share exactly the same experience. But now I invite you to just take a breath, connecting with the breath in whatever way works for you. You don't need to do anything with the breath. You can simply notice it as it flows in and out, knowing that the breath connects us with everything that ever was, as we breathe in oxygen molecules that have been at one time or another in the lungs of every breathing being from the beginning of time. The in-breath and out-breath in this moment connects us with one another and with all things. And beloved, on the exhale, that makes us ancestors for those who will come. Meditation on breathing begins with a drone. It begins with breathe in, breathe out. So we'll do the drone, and Julia's gonna help me with that drone and with the melody. Just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. There are going to be some of you for whom that drone is what you're going to continue to do. Just breathe in, breathe out. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the melody, which is, when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Blessed Father's Day to all of you, known or unknown, seen or unseen, ambivalent or assured. We have all had or have fathers of one type or another. They've been in our lives or out, present even if absent, gratitude and frustration, dependence and independence, love and longing. We respond to them and they to us. Dad, father, pa, daddy. There are those, the caregivers, the homeschoolers, carpool driving, so transparently present it breaks your heart, tender with murmurs and loves and gestures, unashamedly asking for directions. So we celebrate Father's Day so near the winter solstice. We pause one more time to turn the wheel of the year of our becoming, standing in the full light, in the full sun, no shadow, we can see who and whose we are in the work that we do. You, men, fathers, gender queer, all shed tears of joy and sorrow and compassion. I know you do, sometimes abashedly, sometimes we enter this time of summer, this time of hope, this time of possibility, holding the multiplicity and even the complexity of all of our lives. Blessed Father's Day. As we begin our joys and sorrows, again, I just invite you to take that breath and connect with what you brought with you today, a joy or a sorrow. I just want to remind you that pebbles can be dropped in silence, and pebbles can be dropped with simply a word or two, a marker event, something that's happening in your life that you would like us to hold. I'm going to drop a pebble with her permission for Linda Rio, who's going to be having surgery this week.
I'm dropping a pebble in for my Uncle Michael, who passed away unexpectedly yesterday.
I'm celebrating my sister visiting all the way from Hawaii here with us today.
I'm Kathy. One of my compatriots at Park Place, where I live, is very seriously ill and probably isn't going to make it. And I prayed to the universe for him, and the universe said, it's his time, but I'm going to miss him.
What's his name?
Al Licciardi.
Alvin?
Alfonso.
Alfonso. Thank you.
Hi, this is for my husband who graduated last Sunday from college.
Josh!
24 years of joy.
Mine is a joy. Dan has illustrated a children's book, and it was released last week.
74 years ago, I stepped on the campus of Grinnell College. I've never wore a shirt with the name Grinnell, but I thought I'd do it this time. But because 2 weekends ago, I had my 70th college reunion. There were only 6 of us, because many of them have passed away. But it was a joy, a real joy. There were only 6 of us, but we were very close. And it was wonderful to go with my daughter, because she's a Grinnell alum also. In the morning, we heard the bagpipes on campus. In the afternoon, the bagpipes were playing. And we said, let's go see who this is. And we found him. He was dressed in all the Scottish regalia, and he was Asian. My daughter said, this is wonderful. Not only that, our last dinner, we were feasted by the president and everyone else. The last dinner we had, there were 12 people from another class, and we were sitting there at our end of the table with 24 people. Our end of the table, someone said to my friend Liz, 2 seats down, she said, lady, did I hear you were a Unitarian? And Liz turned around and said, yes. Are you? She said, yes. The lady next to her said, I am too. There were 7 of us at the end of the table who were Unitarians.
Go Grinnell. Thank you for those joys and those sorrows, for those spoken and unspoken. Will you hold with me a moment of silent reflection? Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Holy One moving in, through, and among us in our joys, in the celebrations of marriage and illustrated books and reunions. For those near and far, we give thanks. We are in grand graduations. We are in gratitude. And it is these celebrations in our lives and the coming together and the sharing that give us the capacity in the community to hold the sorrows, the losses, the disappointments. We hold it all in the mess of what it means to be human. As we move through the day, and we move through the week, even as we move through this summer, beloveds, know that you, whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are never alone. You are indeed held in love and mystery deeper than you can know. This is the celebration of the flower communion. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the founder of the flower communion, and then we'll share our flowers. But we tell this story every year because it matters, and it reminds us of what it means to live our faith. Norbert Fabian Čapek was born June 30th in 1870 in a village in Bohemia, then a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He was raised a Roman Catholic, which what happened during those times in Europe is you were the religion that your state was, and Roman Catholicism was the religion of the state. But he became a Baptist at 18, and soon after began a career as a minister, a missionary, a publicist, and composer of hymns. He served a congregation in Saxony for 3 years, then moved to Moravia, where he established a new congregation. In 1901, he was elected the chair of the Union of Baptist Churches of Moravia and Slovakia. He published religious journals, became the assistant editor of a popular literary magazine. His religious stance became increasingly liberal, influenced by the social gospel movement of Walter Rauschenbusch, which influenced many, many theologians across the world, and by the study of radical Christian movements in Czech history. Čapek first became interested in Unitarianism in 1910 as a result of meeting Thomas Masaryk, then a professor and later to be the president of Czechoslovakia. Čapek tried, without success at that time, to get the American Unitarian Association to support his efforts to promote liberal religion. Remembering at that time, there was the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America, which would not merge until 1961. At the beginning of World War I, in 1914, Čapek moved to the United States after being advised he was in danger of arrest by the Austrian authorities because of his nationalistic and anti-Catholic writings. Early in 1915, he was tried for heresy by a Baptist tribunal, but acquitted. And for the next 3 years, he was pastor of the First Slavic Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey. During this time, he organized an alliance of various Slovak associations in New Jersey, and he was active in the movement for Czechoslovakian independence. And Jay just told me he is Czech. This story means a lot to him. Maja Aktabak was born April 8th in 1888 in Bohemia. She came to the United States in 1907, obtained a degree from Columbia University School of Library Science, and in 1909 went to work at the Webster branch of the New York City Library. In 1914, she was put in charge, fortuitously, of the Czech section. There she met Norbert Čapek. They were married June 23rd, very close to this time, in 1917. Čapek had already been married and widowed twice, and he had 9 children. Maja resigned her position at the library after a week of marriage. They bought a home in Belleville, New Jersey, and in 1919, Čapek became pastor of a small congregation there. But in September of that year, having come to the conclusion that he could no longer be a Baptist, he resigned his pastorate. At the end of World War I, Czechoslovakia became independent, and many Czechs decided to leave the Roman Catholic Church. Čapek was eager to return to his native land and play a small part in its spiritual reawakening. He and Maja decided to sell their 1920 home in Belleville to get money for the voyage. Because of a delay in the buyer's payment, they found it necessary to vacate the house and rent an apartment in East Orange, New Jersey. While living there, they encouraged their 3 school-age children to try out various Sunday schools and report back to them on the lessons. So they kind of sent them off, try these churches and see what you come back with. The one they finally found that pleased them was the First Unitarian Church of Essex County in Orange. After the children had attended several times, Norbert and Maja also visited the church. Pam, I'm wondering how that would be for you. Pam's our director of programs, and so takes care of our kids. But can you imagine that? Kids, we want you to just go find a church, come back, tell us about it. Okay, sounds good. We like it. We're going to go to. After they visited, they found their, quote, not only clear heads, but warm hearts, too. They signed the membership book on January 10th, 1921. The minister, Dr. Walter Reed Hunt, learning of Čapek's intent to return to Czechoslovakia, arranged for him to meet the president of the American Unitarian Association, Dr. Samuel Eliot. By May, Čapek had a commitment from the American Unitarian Association to support his work in Czechoslovakia. He bid farewell to the church in Orange on June 5th, and he and Maja embarked for Europe on June 30th. By February 1922, Čapek had organized the Prague Congregation of Liberal Religious Fellowship. The services were soon drawing standing room only crowd. The Sunday sermon was repeated and debated on Tuesday evenings. Thousands would come to this service. I don't mean like 1,000, I mean thousands would come, and which would eventually make Čapek a target of the authorities. We'll get there. With financial help from the American Unitarian Association and the British and Foreign Unitarian Association, they acquired and renovated a medieval palace. In 1930, the Unitarian Church of Czechoslovakia was officially recognized by the Czech government, which was a big deal at the time. But on June 24th, 1923, the first flower communion was celebrated. Maja was ordained as a minister in 1926. In 1939, shortly before the German occupation of Czechoslovakia, Maja left for the United States to lecture and raise funds for a joint Unitarian Friends, and by Friends we mean the Quaker organization, the Friends Service Committee, to assist endangered refugees and internees. The AUA offered positions in the United States to Norbert Čapek and to his daughter and to her husband, who had attended seminary in Berkeley and were now assisting with the ministry. They declined the offer, feeling it their duty to remain with their people. The activities of the church continued during the occupation as before, though under Gestapo surveillance, Čapek was more subtle in his sermons and articles. On March 28, 1941, Čapek and his youngest daughter, Zora, were arrested by the Gestapo. One of the gifts that he received from his congregation was a shortwave radio, which during that time were illegal. So he and his daughter were convicted of listening to foreign broadcasts. Chapek was sentenced to a year in prison, but 11 months that he had already been confined waiting for trial were to be counted toward the sentence. Zora, who'd only listened to the broadcast, but not only listened to them, but shared notes with them, was given an 18-month term. In the midst of the wave of executions and deportations of Czechs by the Nazis following the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich, a German official in charge of the occupied country, a Gestapo officer overrode the court's sentence and ordered Chapek to be sentenced to a concentration camp at Dachau. Return unwanted. Public theologian Daniel Weiss writes, on the 5th of 1941, July, Chapek arrived in Dachau. He remained there for a little over 3 months, put to hard labor. The only eyewitness report from Dachau, a letter written to Maja soon after the war ended, came from a Catholic priest who had been with Chapek in Dachau. He described their living conditions as brutal. There was such terrible hunger that we were driven to digging for earthworms and eating them. He then recounted Chapek with awe and encouragement to others at all times, sharing his meager rations, bringing a great number of others to a sense of community and spirit, a man whose countenance, he wrote, carried in it a higher power. Earlier on March 31st in 1942, the day before the trial, their final trial, Chapek passed a piece of paper to his daughter Zora containing his final poem. In it, he declares, "I have lived amidst eternity." While in the camp, Chapek wrote songs and poetry and uplifted the spirits of those who struggled with him. On October 12th, 1942, he was sent on an invalid transport and killed that day. Earlier, on March 31st, again, that poem continued to resonate with his life and with his family and with all of us. Now, Maja Chapek didn't learn of Norbert's death until after the war. After her lecture tour, she served as a minister in New Bedford, Massachusetts for 3 years. From 1944 to 1950, she worked for the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Agency, helping displaced persons settle in Yugoslavia, Egypt, and Palestine. She died on December 1st, 1966. Weiss writes in his essay on Chapek, "It may be apocryphal. It is nowhere mentioned in this extensive biography that was researched on Chapek, but there is undoubtedly truth to the stories that came to say there in Dachau, Chapek celebrated his final flower communion, inviting his fellow prisoners who were drawn to him to find whatever bit of greenery or beauty in the prison yard and to make it into a simple pile with no vases to put them in. Then to tell one more time about the inherent dignity of each person and the grand and glorious reach of the holy into the human soul and the joy, the true freedom that is born of human community when care is genuine and love is real. And finally, to invite those gathered around him to retrieve some shabby bit from the motley pile, transfigured into priceless treasure." Weiss writes, "This is where the essay ought to end, but he says, and I agree, we can't let it rest there. Fascism is too much afoot right here. The targeting of voting rights, civil rights, human rights, the capture of courts by powers wholly opposed to justice, the ramping up of rhetoric that demonizes the humanity of others, and beyond this, the eclipse of any rational concern for the planet, the lust for profit, and foolhardy distraction. There is no telling how perilous the politics of our future will be in the near future, except for telling us this: too perilous. There is no telling how damaged the planet's systems will be before we wake up, except for this telling to this. So we end here, this story, the flower communion, this simple ritual, but more so, it is unfazed by peril, undaunted before damage, an unassuming ritual bearing beauty and truth. Uniquely needy, uniquely gifted, we belong to one another. Creating community is birthing joy. In a perilous and damaged future, these truths may seem no stronger than a sprig of lilac, but I tell you, they are priceless treasures. So today, beloveds, we remember the work of Norbert Čapek and Maja Čapek, who brought the flower communion to the United States after the passing of her husband and during her pastorate. We live from their determination to serve and to resist, and in so doing, to never forget the beauty around us, the beauty within us, and knowing, in the words of Solzhenitsyn, beauty can save us. So in a moment, we're going to participate in this flower communion. I invite Pam Fodor up to read our dedication of the flowers, which was I adapted for children, but he said words similar to these. Come on up, Pam.
Whenever Dr. Čapek conducted his flower communion in Prague, he would say words something like this as he consecrated the flowers. Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these flowers that teach us of friendship and love. Even though we know different things, we are good at different things. Like these different flowers, each of us is beautiful and has good things to share. May the flowers remind us of the value of doing and sharing together. May we take care of our friendships as our most precious gift. May we be happy that we all have different talents, because all of us are needed to do good work in this world.
Thank you. You can find that prayer and that dedication in the back of the gray hymnal under the readings for flower communion. You can see his original words. And so, beloveds, now is the time to share the flower communion. Even though we heard a hard story, it just reminds us that we can do hard things, that we can live into the possibility of that hope and that love and that dedication that Čapek so brilliantly, profoundly taught us. So we'll have some music as folks gather. Now the thing is, this is how it was done in Prague. There were vases in the back of the sanctuary, and people would put their flowers in at the beginning, and then they would be brought up. But here's the thing about the flower communion. The way that Čapek decided to create this ceremony, by the way, was because he had a very diverse congregation. He had people from various backgrounds. He had people who had left the Roman Catholic Church, and he wanted a ritual that didn't trigger them and remind them of things that they had left. And so he decided to create this ritual to bring people together and to show the diversity and the beauty of beliefs and people. Just like we here in this congregation believe different things about the holy, about the ultimate. But what brings us together is the shared value of love and community and doing our work in the world. Because y'all, you know, you may be sitting next to someone who's a theist, an atheist, a humanist, a pagan, a Buddhist. We've got them all. And yet that uniqueness contributes to the beauty, just like the beauty we see before us. So we're going to invite you, and I think we'll help folks act like ushers and bring people up row by rows. And the thing is to bring a flower that's different than the one that you brought. So you don't get to take your own flower back. You get to bring one out from the community. So let's start. So y'all started singing that song, and that's the closing song, but we got another one for you. But wait, there's a, who said that? 118. And close with these words by Norbert Chopek. This is his prayer for the flowers, for the flower communion. In the name of Providence, which implants the seed, I'm going to try that again. In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of the tree and in the hearts of people who are longing for all to live in harmony. In the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the parent and the sibling what they are. In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrifice their lives to hasten the coming of peace. Let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real siblings, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from one another. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us. May we endeavor for a more perfect and a more joyful life. Amen and amen. What, can I hear that all loud? All right. I mean, I heard somebody whisper it. I actually thought I heard somebody say hallelujah, and I'm like, well, okay, go ahead. It's all good. I invite you to join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, nor the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our lives and share with all the world. So this is the idea. Since we already sang that fabulous song, we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine as we go out. Now, I don't have the words on the screen because I didn't prepare that. However, you know the song, and it's a zipper song. So I'll line it out for you, and if you need a hymnal, it's number 118. But I'm going to invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together without the words on the screen. You can do it. I know you can. Sing with me. Yes. Go with a yes. Go with hope in your hearts. Go seeing the beauty around you and within you, beloved. Never forget the beauty within you, which is the beauty you see in others as well. So go in peace. Be makers of peace. I love you.